Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. Oh, a big thank you to Kyler on Twitter for the picture you're looking at. All right, I was having some difficulty this morning. I ended up in the emergency room, but since I'm having breathing treatments, steroids, antibiotics, I'm feeling much better. However, I started taping before I went to the ER, so you will hear the difference. At one point, I'm clear, doing well, and in the next part, I'm not. Those are the parts that were taped before I went to get breathing treatments. I'm not redoing the whole video. I just don't have it in me. So please just bear with me. There's a lot in this video. That's why it's so long. Let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. All right, I missed this the other day and I wanted to point it out to you. While visiting London's first XXSW festival on Thursday, King Charles saw the Kingdom Choir. These are the same people who sang at Harry and Meghan's wedding, and they serenaded him. How lovely is that? All right, let's move on. All right, this next one is really cool. Prince William teamed up with his aunt. I think people forget that Sophie is his aunt, but they teamed up for an engagement in Cornwall. It was the Royal Cornwall show on June 6th. I couldn't help but notice that when they arrived, she stood back while William greeted people, which is, how it's supposed to be. So they headed into the food and beverage tent and, met people that were selling. And then they headed straight over to the alcohol. So they're in the farming tent and William goes, well, we've come from the chutney straight into booze. I can see what today's going to be like. And Sophie goes in for a sip. And William goes, you're not allowed to finish it. You've got to watch her. And Sophie, claps back and says, well, he's learned from the best. And William goes, well, I've been caught out with whiskey a few times. I think I can do that. And then it's like, oh no, I couldn't. I love watching these two together. I think they're absolutely hilarious. And the way they joke around, they complement each other. Now, after that, they headed over to the cider stand, and they're saying that William lit up at the selection from Healy's cider farm, saying, look at that Rattler selection. Definitely, I am happy about that. No, I think this is really interesting. They offered him the 0% alcohol option, and William goes, oh, no. I need original. Someone bring out the big guns. I mean, it's just so funny. So after the food tent, the two of them split up because they had separate engagements to attend to. Just as an FYI, the Royal Cornwall Show was established in 1793, and this event celebrates the best of Cornish heritage and tradition through agriculture, food, entertainment, and competition. And the idea is to promote and support future improvements in agriculture and collective community. Now, as they're going to their respective areas, they had to pass through the crowds. Lots and lots of people wanted to meet them, greet them, take selfies with them. And you could just tell that Sophie and William gravitated towards children. You guys already know how I feel about that. You either have it with children or you don't. You know what I'm saying? Either they like you or not. It is being suggested that the fact that William and Sophie were together on this outing shows that William has big plans for Sophie and Edward after he ascends to the throne and becomes king. And why not? They're wonderful. William headed over to the Duchy of Cornwall hub, and it highlights mental health, and he met with representatives from local charities and groups because, remember, he wants to do programs to help support the mental health of the Duchy of Cornwall farming tenants. Now, after that, William visited the local nature partnership Regenerative Agricultural, which is an educational hub organized by the Cornwall Council. I love that. Sophie, in the meantime, had multiple things. She spent time with LEAF, which is Linking Environment and Farming, and Girl Guides, two organizations that she's the patron of. Sophie then walked over to the area where the cow, pigs, and sheep were located. There's a lot of them animals. She handed a trophy to the beef team of 5 Supreme for their winning cows. She even tickled a pig's foot that she thought was sleeping and was going wakey wakey. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. Let's move on. Now, sticking with Duchess Sophie, we're going backwards. On May 13th, Wellington College welcomed her to officially open Elizabeth House, which is the college's 18th boarding house and its first co-educational 6th form house. It was named in honor of Queen Elizabeth, who had a really good relationship with Wellington College. This place opened in September of 2024. So, of course, Sophie toured the state-of-the-art facilities, which was guided by the head of the house and a fellow pupil. And therefore, she was able to get a glimpse into daily life within the house, shared social areas, and she saw a display celebrating the long-standing relationship between the royal family and the college. Of course, she unveiled a plaque, signed the guest book, and then it was time to move on. And a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce, as usual, for showing us what she was wearing. We're going to move on now to the Duchess of Gloucester. I did not realize she was Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Bermuda Regiment. And this morning, she received the Governor of Bermuda, Mr. Andrew Murdoch. That took place June 3rd. Now, on June 4th, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, remember, she's patron of the Royal College of Midwives, she visited the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital for the NHS Foundation's Trust Maternity Unit. She met staff and people from the NICU unit, and of course she unveiled a plaque, as she usually does. I think she looks absolutely fabulous. Also, a few days ago, she attended a dinner with the 7 Incorporated Trades of Aberdeen at Trinity Hall in Aberdeen. And let's move on now to Prince Edward. Don't forget, he is president of the Seafarers Charity. He attended the annual general meeting on board the HMS Wellington at Temple Stairs Victoria Embankment in London. Edward was there to present the President's Awards, looking fabulous. And let's move on to King Charles. This was so funny. He visited the Royal Regiment of Artillery at the Royal Artillery Barracks in Larkhill, and they gave him like it's not a bullet, it's this thing that you fire out of the cannon, and it was inscribed. Here's how he fired it. That man was having too much fun. Next up, he went to look at the military uniform of his ancestor, King George V, while he was viewing artifacts from the Regimental Museum. Now, King Charles went around talking to people. He got to learn about the soldiers, their training, the heritage of the Royal Regiment group, how their personal training went. He got to look at all the equipment. He also got to meet their families, and they were there from the 21 regiments that form the Royal Regiment. There were a lot of people there. That engraved cartridge, by the way, that the king was given, this was his first visit as Captain General, and that cartridge was fired during his coronation. So I guess it was given to him as a souvenir. Looking good, Charles. And now let's stick with Charles, but bring Sophie back. She greeted her brother-in-law, because actually, when you think about it, the king is her brother-in-law, and she did a deep curtsy, followed by a hug and a kiss on the cheek. The two of them were together at the Royal Windsor Flower Show. For those of you who don't know, this brings together horticultural experts and garden enthusiasts from around the UK, and this event explores the theme of patterns in nature. Now, Sophie cut the ribbon to officially open this, and that is Alan Tishmarch on her left in the blue jacket. Now, this event explores the theme of patterns in nature, as I just said, and it is inspired by King Charles's book, Harmony. So there's a mathematical beauty of the natural world. So there is a spiral in the central garden that emphasizes how mathematical patterns create harmony in garden design. Love it. All right, let's move on to our Harry Meghan stuff. One of my subscribers sent this to me, and they were absolutely right. The baby's got the right hand. That's a right hand, but it should be on the left side. It's on the left side. Does that make sense? In other words, the hand is backwards. Unless the baby's lying on its left arm and the right hand just happens to be over. It's weird. Now, once again, after the twerking video, they're saying that the video undermined the dignity of the monarchy and they want the titles pulled. It's not going to happen in Charles's lifetime. Let me tell you something. That was the twerk heard round the world because even Talk TV with Kevin O'Sullivan decided they were going to do a mock video. The guy put on a dark wig, gave himself a baby bump, and danced to the Baby Mama song, and also tried his hand at being Prince Harry in a ginger wig. So he played both parts. Unbelievable. One person said, Kevin got the moves. Looking good there. Yeah, it's not going to stop, people. It's just not going to stop. All right, next up, I just wanted to touch on this. Remember that whole thing in Netflix when Meghan looked at Mindy Kaling and goes, you know, I'm Sussex now. You keep saying Markle, but I'm Sussex and I have kids and blah, blah, blah. Well, what they're claiming now is that it was a warning shot at the royal family because we found out about, the name row that was going on about Spencer. In other words, she was making a public point of emphasizing how much the title meant to her and to Harry. And it's a clear threat. Don't try to pull that title because something ugly is going to happen if you do. Get it? Just remember the passport office has a clear one name for all official purpose policy. And so this whole passport row was because they didn't have the same name on all passports they hold. And by the way, they do that to prevent crime and fraud. All right, next up, Archewell has put up an announcement that they're going to give money to a group called Generation Planet. This is it's to help with Responsible Technology Youth Power Fund, and it's supposed to inspire grantees working towards a more inclusive, equitable technology, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's move on now to this whole Disney thing. Of course, it was the daughter's birthday, so they did a 2-day visit to Disney. They put up multiple pictures wearing multiple different outfits. Several things stuck out. Number one, for Miss, everything has to be just perfect at home. She's feeding her kids corn dogs. Number two, it was noticed in the pictures that there was really nobody else around, like in this picture. There's nobody in the thing in front of them. This picture, which was obviously, that's Marcus Anderson in the back seat. Now remember, they're both in the picture, so who's taking the pictures? I think they had an intern with them, somebody walking around with them, taking all of these pictures of them, and this is all for PR to try to overshadow that stupid twerking video. This is her strategy, okay? Is to put up these ridiculous pictures to show them as normal people doing normal things. But when you look a little deeper into what's going on at Disney, that's not the case. First of all, they took the picture that you're looking at right now on the balcony of what was, at that time, Disney's Dream Suite. Now, several people came out and said, you can't rent that out anymore. It's a restaurant now. No, I assure you, if Harry and Meghan want to stay there, they would have paid whatever. So they could stay there, I assure you. In one of these pictures, you can clearly see that the daughter is barefoot. Disney has a policy, no bare feet allowed in the park. She doesn't have to wear shoes in her hotel room. Now, one of the people on Twitter took this picture and said, look at the top of the letter there. Something's wrong. Actually, it's not. That's the way it is. It goes out above onto the board. So I'm telling you, they were staying there. Now, just as an FYI, this suite, 2,200 square foot, is located in the New Orleans Square area of Disneyland Park at the Disneyland Resort. It was created as part of the Year of a Million Dreams promotion, and it ran through 2006 and 2008. They say they closed it as a place to stay in 2016. Each room is designed after a different part of the park. But if you think for 1 second that Harry and Meghan didn't throw some money around so they could stay there, because that's what I think. Now, I've also noticed that there are no other people really in any of the pictures with Harry and Meghan. Here's a perfect example. Here's Lily on the carousel. You can see all the people off the carousel, but on the carousel, there doesn't appear to be anybody else. And that's because they've done the Disneyland Resort VIP tour. For those of you who don't know, this is a customizable experience with a personal guide that takes you with expedited access. In other words, they walk you to the front of the line on every ride. You don't wait on lines. And you have reserved viewing for shows. The tours are priced from $500 to $800 per hour with a 7-hour minimum. So I can assure you they waited on no lines, they had backstage access, expedited access, concierge, the whole bit. Now, it didn't take long for the pictures to start coming out, and it was a Diana moment. It was Harry doing it with Diana, and they started comparing all of this stuff. But I really don't think that's what it was. I think it was Meghan trying to cosplay Diana at Disney. A big thank you to Meghan's Towel on Twitter for pointing out this picture and this picture. Absolutely, she's doing a Diana thing. Now, in this car, which was taken during the ride, you can see in the back seat, that's Marcus Anderson. Absolutely. They tried to cover his face, but it didn't work very well. Now, a couple of other really strange things. Look at this picture of Harry. He's got his son in front of him, but behind him on the right, there was a child sitting because you see the arms sticking out. Can't imagine what child that was. And who took the picture from this angle? Very odd. And also, do you remember during the Oprah show when Meghan was in the chicken coop with Oprah, she said this?
Sitting in Nottingham Cottage, and The Little Mermaid came on. But it came on, and I was like, well, I'm just here all the time, so may as well watch this. And I went, oh my God. She falls in love with the prince, and because of that, she has to lose her voice. But by the end, she gets her voice back.
So is anybody surprised that this is the cake that the little girl got? Something's wrong here. And I'd also like to point out that in every picture Meghan is in, she made sure that she was the front and center focus of every picture. It was just crazy. It's so odd. It's like she can't stand for her children to take her thunder. She has to be front and center in every picture or video that's put out. It's so odd. And FYI, the nanny needs to do a better job with this little girl's hair. They didn't even brush a decent ponytail. I mean, my goodness, what a mess. I also think it's kind of odd that Meghan and Harry took their children to a public place and don't expect that somebody in the public wouldn't get a picture of them. But it looks like nobody did. How weird is that? All right, I want to give you guys some good news. This woman you're looking at, her name is Dr. Ann Anderson. She's a fine arts lecturer who was giving a Zoom talk about Scandinavian design. She uttered the phrase, the dreaded Meghan, and therefore, she was accused of using racist language by a woman whose identity she was not allowed to know. And even though she was cleared of making racist comments, she lost 3/4 of her income, and basically she was kicked out of her job. However, she is now giving Arts Society lectures once again. Now, in the aftermath, the chief executive and almost all of its trustees resigned, and this woman basically is working again. Good for her. I mean, this cancel culture is ridiculous. And finally, oh my God, Robin Patrick, this is woman who watched the Netflix show with Love Meghan and copied Meghan's method of making the homemade bath salts, right? Epsom salt, Himalayan salt, arnica oil, lavender oil, and dried flowers. She planned to give it to a friend. She decided to try it herself. We all know what happened. She has horrible burns all over her legs. Now, to date, the burns have still not healed. She's suing for, her pain and discomfort and everything else. She is diabetic, and she has a high risk of infection. And she says that Meghan had a duty to give adequate warnings. And now an attorney for Netflix has come out and said Epsom salt is a no-no for diabetics and she should have known the risks. I disagree. Netflix should have put a disclaimer up and they didn't. And I think this woman's going to win this lawsuit. All right, you guys, you know what to do. I'm not going through it today. I just can't. So don't forget to leave those comments, hit like and subscribe. Have a fabulous day.